Stepney and Thomas is the 16th episode of the 4th series, based on the stories Bluebells of England and Stepney special from the Railway series book, Stepney the Bluebell Engine. This is another example of the TV series taking two stories from the Railway series and combining them into one. But do they succeed with this one? One day, Thomas is feeling very happy. At a seaside station, he asks Percy whether he agrees that his branch line is the pride of the line, but Percy hesitates to agree, which Thomas, momentarily annoyed by this, questions. Percy tells Thomas that there is another engine with a branch line as famous as his, Stepney. Although he is far away, the Fat Controller says that he may visit the North Western Railway someday. Meanwhile, Stepney has purposely been running the Bluebell Railway, but is disappointed that the line is not very long. He later sees Rusty, who saved him from scrap, and tells him that although everyone has been kind to him, he wishes he could go on a long run. Rusty suggests that Stepney talks to his driver about it. Stepney soon finds out that his driver feels the same way. That evening, his driver tells him that he has been invited to visit the engines on the Fat Controller's railway, and Stepney and his driver head off for the following morning. The engines have heard about Stepney's upcoming arrival and begin talking about Stepney at Knapford. Thomas, however, is jealous about how Stepney's branch line is as famous as his own and leaves to fetch his coaches. Percy then sees a large crowd gathered on the 5th platform and wonders why they are all at the station if there is no train. The crowd is gathered to greet Stepney, and before long, the signal drops and an engine's whistle is heard in the distance. Stepney soon arrives at the station where he receives a big welcome. Edward hopes that Stepney will meet Thomas, as they both have branch lines to be proud of. Stepney then goes off to shunt coaches in the yard with Duck all afternoon. At night, Thomas sees Stepney and Duck, but does not stop to talk as he does not want to be late to pull his last branch line train. Just as Thomas leaves, Stepney and Duck hear shouting at the station with the order to stop all trains. The signalman answers the telephone to find that a special train has been ordered. Thomas, whose final branch line train is now being delayed, wonders what's going on. His driver tells him that he is being shunted to let another train pass. Thomas then sees Stepney pulling two coaches running through the station and vanishing into the night. The next morning, Thomas is fuming about being shunted on his own branch line, but Stepney apologises and explains the situation. The previous evening, just as Thomas left Stepney and Duck, an important passenger chartered a special train which Duck kindly let Stepney take. Stepney says he had a splendid run, but Thomas, now understanding the situation, interrupts and says that Stepney was nervous since he did not know the line. Stepney is very glad that Thomas understands him and calls him an expert. Thomas is no longer jealous and cross, and he proceeds to tell Stepney all about his branch line. The story, as I said, is based off of two stories from the Railway series book, Bluebells of England and Stepney Special, but it only focuses on certain elements from both books, notably leaving out the parts where Percy talks about how the other railway cuts up steam engines when they're all scrapped and how Stepney was saved by the Bluebell Railway, and how Stepney talks about the engines on the Bluebell Railway. This was done because Brittlecroft and David Mitton made the executive decision to give Stepney his own branch line on the island of Sodor in the TV series, therefore erasing any continuity to the Bluebell Railway from the other railway in the show. But because I watched the TV episode before I got to read the book, I honestly had no issues with this change. Plus, it gives us that nice interaction between Percy and Thomas in the beginning of the episode, once again showing off Thomas's prattish side that we hadn't seen since Series 2.
My branch line is the pride of the line, wouldn't you agree? Yes, Thomas, of course, but what, Percy? Out with it. Well, there is another engine with a famous branch line too. Who? Where? Exclaimed Thomas anxiously. His name's Stepney. He's far away, but the Fat Controller says he may visit us. When? Oh, someday. And Percy hurried away.
And it makes sense that Thomas would be jealous of another engine with a famous branch line since he considers his own branch line famous. It just shows us that Thomas hasn't 100% matured at this point, and still has a little bit of that cheeky, immature side to him.
He runs a famous branch line. Did you know that? Said Percy. Thomas was feeling a little jealous. It may be famous, but my branch is first on the line. Everyone knows that, too. Sorry, can't talk. It's time for my last branch line train. Mustn't be late. Why are we waiting? My passengers are being delayed. Shunted. And on my own branch, too. It's a disgrace.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was Whine Like a Little Bitch Day.
Stepney's theme is another classic by O Donnell and Jr. Campbell. It's another one of those great themes that I love listening to over and over again. It sounds very cheery and upbeat, just like the character of Stepney, which really suits him to a T. It's also a tune that I can just picture listening to during the springtime. It's just that cheery that you could listen to it during the springtime. This is another one of those episodes where there's no crash scenes or runaways or chases, or races. It's just another slice of life episode that we're used to getting for the TV series. And I think that was needed after the previous episode. Having gone through the daring rescue of Stepney at the hands of Rusty, we needed an episode that took a quick breather from all the action, and gave us a nice slice of life story. And plus we get to see Thomas and Stepney interacting and meeting each other for the first time. And their relationship in the episode is something that we all go through at some point in our lives. Meeting the new kid on the block, getting jealous of how cool they look to the other kids, and then slowly warming up to them when you get to know them. It's something that we've all gone through at some point in our lives, and the episode shows that off really well. It adapts two stories, being faithful to them while taking some liberties, but those liberties really work to their advantage in my opinion, and it gave us an entertaining slice of life episode which brings Thomas and Stepney together. It's one that you definitely don't want to miss if you love Thomas and Stepney the Bluebell Engine.